What a day. What a day. We have XRP battling all-time high, rapidly approaching that $3.40 mark. A lot of questions out there on what the all-time high of XRP is, but rapidly battling it nonetheless, right around 340. We have the United States House of Representatives passing major bills, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act. A lot to get into today. Looks like the floodgates may finally be opening. This is pretty crazy for XRP, pretty crazy for the industry as well. So buckle up. So I'm going to start here. I guess I'll just pull up the good old XRP chart. You can see it. I mean, we are right there, which is crazy. I mean, I know that there's some even older OGs than me. I got into XRP and really got into XRP in 2019, but kind of dabbling in 2018 after the all-time high of, what it was, a January 2018 or whatever. But we're right there. I mean, $3.40 rapidly approaching. You can go to CoinGecko, which will actually have, I think, has $3.40 as well. CoinMarketCap shows higher. But you can look back and, David Schwartz and some others have posted that $3.70 or 3.80 number was not the real all-time high. It was, I guess, a glitch, or people couldn't buy, people couldn't sell, whatever it was. People couldn't buy. $3.40 seems to be the consensus. And XRP is right there. For some context, today hitting right around $3.39, $3.40. I think some people are kind of waiting for all-time high to actually break $3.41 to kind of start doing whatever they're going to do. One thing, so I saw Santiago post this. If you don't follow Santiago Velez, definitely recommend doing so. Let me see if you can obviously see everybody on here on Twitter talking about XRP all-time high day. Let me see if Santiago pulls up. Yeah. So Santiago bringing up a good point. Back to our regularly scheduled programming, or 0.002353 Bitcoin per XRP. At a $120,000 Bitcoin, this corresponds to an XRP value of $28. I don't think it will get that high, but even a third of that would yield $9.41 XRP and would be an awesome cycle all-time high. So he's talking about is not XRP to USD, but XRP to Bitcoin. You can look back at historical XRP to Bitcoin price action here. Same way you would look at a normal chart. Obviously, I don't pay attention to my moving averages. I don't have anything legit even on there set up right now. But same kind of theory here as you look at this, and you can obviously see we're not anywhere close to all-time high. Even though the XRP USD price is, XRP BTC price is not right now. And it'd be interesting to kind of watch what happens if we start taking market share away from Bitcoin. The XRP to Bitcoin correlation, less Bitcoin per XRP. It'll be interesting to watch, like as Santiago was saying there. If you put it at all-time high, it puts XRP at like a 27 or whatever dollar price range, if even a third of that, around $8. So who knows what happens? I do think it's pretty awesome. I mean, even just looking at the XRP chart, this is a crazy looking chart by, anybody's standards anyways. And like I said, I brought this up a couple days ago too. It looks very similar, like 2017, 2018. So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. This made me think about going back a little bit today. The first deep dive video I ever did, and I know I was posting content for a while. I was actually feeding content to some of the bigger YouTube channels, some of the research for about the first year and a half I was in the XRP community. And then I started doing my own about a year and a half after starting. And this is the very beginning, I think 2020 January, I did a deep dive into Identity. I remember Identity had a patent out there to basically run on RippleNet and Swift simultaneously, if I remember correctly. This goes all the way back to some of the ISO 20022 stuff. It's crazy to go back 5 years ago and see ISO 20022 R3. Hi, Kitty. R3 Internet of Value, first YouTube video. And man, look at that face up there. That is wild. That is definitely not a Solomon sober face. But yeah, it's I'm trying to be more consistent with these videos. I didn't do one yesterday. I took one of my kids out for ice cream, and I ended up having to go to the doctor for my back yesterday. And it's crazy. Like, I posted this on Twitter, and I won't spiel on about myself too long. But like 3.5 years ago, my blood pressure was like 158 over like 120 something. It was really bad. But then, like, obviously I've made a lot of life changes. No drinking, no cigarettes, no chew at this point. Chew for a month, cigarettes for over a year, and drinking coming up on 2 years. My blood pressure was like literally 108. I think it was 108 or 109 over 78, which is like the blood pressure of like a late 20-year-old, which is pretty crazy. So anyways, enough rambling. It's been a really long journey, especially in XRP. I've always had, people would probably be shocked at how little XRP I have, how little crypto I have in general. I've like never tried to invest more than I was willing to afford to lose. But the XRP that I do have, that I think I got in, probably a little bit in 2019, and then the rest in 2020, right after the COVID crash, I've just kind of held on Ledger. Obviously, I've like dabbled after that with different stuff on the XRPL, like when NFTs went, launched and all the other stuff, but nothing really crazy. And still have the XRP I've had forever. And it's really cool to see XRP battling down the walls of all-time high. So I can't wait for all-time high to break. And then really, assuming all-time high does break, price discovery will be really freaking interesting to watch. So more importantly for the wider industry here, the United States House passing 3 key crypto bills. I just did this video 2 days ago about kind of the pause on voting on these due to kind of a little bit of red tape. But 3 bills on Republicans' crypto agenda passed with bipartisan support. After delays in Congress, the U.S. House of Representatives has passed 3 pieces of crypto legislation, voting 294 to 134 to pass the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, a bill aimed at establishing a market structure for crypto in the U.S., 308 to 122 in favor of the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins, or GENIUS Act, and 219 to 210 for the Anti-CBDC, or Anti-Central Bank Digital Currency Surveillance State Act. Almost 80 Democrats voting yes for the Clarity Act and more than 100 for the GENIUS Act, with the bills expected to move through the chamber before Congress takes break for its August recess. So also really, really major. The Clarity Act aiming to standardize market structure, enhancing investor trust, enabling institutional adoption by classifying digital assets as digital commodities or investment contracts. Legislative challenges from conservative Republicans seeking to merge it with the anti-CBDC measures were resolved, allowing the bill to advance in the Senate for final approval. We've needed this, and Europe has MiCA, markets and crypto assets, while certainly not comprehensive, at least giving Europe some sort of a foothold. And then you look at, what's been going on in Dubai, what's been going on in Singapore and Hong Kong, and certainly different types of regulation. But one thing is pretty much consistent across the board is that there's like at least cultivation of the tech from like a sandbox environment standpoint, where like companies don't have to feel afraid of like, getting sued or getting a Wells notice or whatever has been happening in the US. So it's great to see. I mean, I think this is absolutely major. I had the opportunity, as some of you guys may know, to interview Charles Hoskinson and Lehman Baird together on a panel at HederaCon in February. And Charles has mentioned this publicly, so I don't mind saying it. Like, he basically was saying, like, with the GENIUS Act and with the clear-cut regulations coming down the pipeline, he said like $250,000 Bitcoin, like back in February. Now, I'm not saying we get to $250,000 Bitcoin, but I am saying, basically he was saying that under the purview that people have really no idea. The mass populace really has no idea what's going to happen once we get some sort of regulatory clarity. And I've said this before, like, stable coins basically abstract away the red tape and the complexity and like a lot of like the concerns that a lot of people are traditionally have had for crypto. You know, if you have something one-to-one backed with reserves at a banking institution, we've already seen what's happening with Ripple USD, with what is it, BNY Mellon being the custodian. Think about stablecoin flows or USDC being an option on Amazon, being an option on all these online retailers that we use. And then once people obviously get used to using stablecoins, they're already used to crypto, right? Because it's a stablecoin is just a crypto. It's going to be really interesting. And I think, you know, one thing of note, you know, I brought this up before. I'm still amazed crypto is still kind of sitting, you know, where we're sitting right now in 2025. And I've again brought this up where, like, if you look at the top of 2021, November, the top of 2021 in November for Bitcoin, at least, was pretty much like, you know, or the previous cycle, I should say. The top of 2018 is pretty much the bottom of 2022, right? Now it'll be interesting to see if the top of 2021 becomes the bottom of 2026 if we bottom next year. I'm interested in looking at that because you know, these things, you need obviously like 3 indicators before something truly becomes valid, but market cycles tend to rhyme while they may not be exact. So I'm surprised we're not at $7 trillion, $10 trillion market cap. I think a lot of that is for crypto as a whole. I think a lot of that deals in the oversaturation, the fact that there's 20 million coins right now, because there is so much real world adoption going on that you can't even keep up with it. You can see Senate Banking Committee Chairman Tim Scott issuing the following statement after the House passed the the Genius Act. For the first time in history, Congress has passed. I should note as well, I saw that I think this was the longest vote that went through Congress. I think it was like over 11 hours of a delay. So I forget who I saw. I think that was Eleanor Tourette that actually posted that, which was also, I found pretty interesting. But Chairman Tim Scott, for the first time in history, Congress has passed bipartisan digital asset legislation through both the Senate and the House. The Genius Act marks a milestone in securing America's leadership in payment innovation while protecting consumers and strengthening our national security. This bill is critical to delivering on President Trump's agenda to cement the United States as the crypto capital of the world. And I look forward to taking a similar approach to get digital asset market structure legislation signed into law. Digital assets and blockchain technology are here to stay, and it's past time our regulatory framework acknowledges this reality. I did an interview with Ben Jorgensen, if I can find it, yesterday, I think. So co-founders of Constellation. Full disclosure, Genfinity has a media relationship with Constellation. So if you're watching the interview or anything else, not financial advice, obviously. But they were at, he was at an event with, I think, NVIDIA, BlackRock, some others, and, you know, in California. I don't know when the event was. It was like over the past week or two, I think. And he was basically mentioning, you know, we see this overlap not only for crypto and digital assets, but where artificial intelligence is really starting to kind of fit in here. And, you know, NVIDIA, BlackRock, these entities they know that the writing's on the wall. So like he basically was saying, like, they have solutions. He said, I think it was an individual from either NVIDIA or BlackRock. You can go back and watch the interview. Either NVIDIA or BlackRock mentioned, like, we've kind of figured out the intersection. Who knows if they actually figured out the intersection? But they're like, we're not going to mention anything until blah, blah, blah. And you can even, you know, what's really interesting, you can dive into Constellation stuff that they've done with Common Crawl when it comes to AI. I mean, Common Crawl literally is 9.7 petabytes of data. 95 to 98% of AI models leverage Common Crawl data. They basically like are an archive of the entire internet, and Constellation is starting to bring that stuff on chain. And from the NVIDIA standpoint, I mean, when he brought that up, my head leans towards the stuff that Hedera is nailing out with Accenture, which is not a stranger to this channel, Equity Lab, and Hedera Foundation, public partner on public sector, government, defense, and healthcare AI governance solutions. For those not aware, Hedera's AI solutions are you being used by a company called Equity Lab. Equity Lab was at the Brussels lab for Accenture a few years ago. Equity Lab just announced a partnership with Accenture. They also, their NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs, I think, and Intel, NVIDIA tied in, and NVIDIA, I'll say it, because I think somebody corrected me before. Is it NVIDIA? I think it's NVIDIA. NVIDIA. The Blackwell GPUs and Intel stuff as well, and tying in Accenture and public sector AI solutions. So like, I don't know. All this stuff's pretty wild. You can see XDC Foundation Genius Act officially passed the House. All right. So major stuff, guys. I don't know. I mean, we're at the point now that it's just kind of wild. You know, we've all been here for so long, just kind of waiting on XRP to do its thing. So many people have like come and gone from this space. I've not done nearly as much XRP content as I used to do. I mean, to be honest, it's not super easy to find crazy deep divey documents though, like the DTCC stuff that I dragged up back in May. You know, that stuff's not like super easy to freaking find. I mean, and if it is, it just, you know, there's days where I'll do like 3 or 4 hours of research and not find anything. So it's like, why am I going to do a video if I didn't find anything? Am I going to like invent something? Just crazy. I mean, how much time has passed, and it's cool. I mean, it's really awesome to see XRP doing what it's doing right now too. I think looking forward to seeing what XRP does, looking forward to seeing what all the other assets out there do that have been building for a while. I do want to mention, and no financial ties on any means, but I thought this is really cool. It's something I've been looking forward to in the Hedera ecosystem. Is this game? It's live in beta testing. It's free to play. I am going to mess around with this. I just downloaded it. Apparently, you have to download this test flight app for beta testing on the iOS store. But this is Legends of the Past. These guys have been building for a couple of years in Hedera. This is like actual gameplay footage, and I'm pretty excited for this one. Again, not financial advice. This is not paid for anything. So I'm looking forward to playing the game on iOS. I'm going to do that probably tonight, maybe tomorrow as well. We also have a cross-chain AI tooling space this evening, probably right when this video goes live. Again, not financial advice. Genfinity has media relationships with a lot of the layer ones up here. But Go Plausible on Algorand. These guys are building... so W3C should not be a mistake to some of you guys. So like basically they deal in the internet standards. They're building a W3C compliant decentralized ID or DID or decentralized identifiers, whichever one they're using here, based verifiable credentials and smart utility NFTs powered by Algorand and AI. Hyzen AI, AI tooling suite and aggregator, AI agent, play on agent spelling, but AI agent.run on the XRPL, launch AI agents and tokens using XRP. That's going to be in about 15 minutes. It might be live by the time that I'm actually have released this video. And then I wanted to end. There was a Hashgraph online. There's a $1 million hackathon going on right now with the Hashgraph Association, and you can learn more about it from Hashgraph Online DAO. Hashgraph Online DAO has a bunch of kind of the leading projects in Hedera, like Hashpack, Bonzo, HGraph, which is like data provider. But they're doing a lot of like advocacy for this hackathon that is really going to start to ramp up next month. Again, Genfinity has a media partnership with the Hashgraph Association, so make sure you do your due diligence. But if you look, this hackathon info just came out probably a couple of weeks ago, and it's a pretty big one. Like I said, Hashgraph collaboration with the Exponential Science Foundation. For those of you guys that have been here for a while, probably remember the name Paulo Tasca, co-authored the Quant white paper. definitely an advocate for Ripple. I mean, if I go to, I mean, God, let me see if I can find Hedera. That's probably not good. Let me see if I can find Ripple. Actually, I'll do this one. Hold on. So I found this document. This one. So Exponential Science Foundation actually had some co-author and support from Ripple, Exponential Science, and this is like this institutional grade wallet. Ripple and Hedera shared custodial wallet. So Palo Tasca is a monster in crypto. So he's involved kind of from the Exponential Science Foundation for this $1 million hackathon, and then you obviously have the Hashgraph Association, which drives a lot of initiatives for Hedera adoption in Europe and the MENA region. Anyways, let me check the XRP price and see if it's any closer. Not yet. $3.36. Oh, it's close on here. January 7th, 2018. I hope this breaks. If this breaks by the time this video goes live or I'm about to publish, I'm going to change the title. Congratulations to all the XRP holders. XRP community has taken more on the chin than any other. I'll say it. I've said it before. I mean, more on the chin than any other community in crypto by far. It is amazing. I mean, it's a testament to like fortitude and perseverance that the XRP community held XRP through, a multi-year battle with the SEC, with, the status of XRP being deemed potentially a security or not a security, which we know it's not, hanging in the balance. And XRP never left the top 10 in crypto. That alone is crazy. I can't imagine that happening to anything else in this space. And then you got people like John Deaton, who went to bat for every XRP holder for years. And you have all the content creators, even content creators that I didn't get along with. I mean, hey, those content creators stayed much more consistent than I did. And I know that there's like all sorts of shit going on in the XRP community, but there's always going to be all sorts of shit going on in the XRP community. My thoughts, because it's literally, at least in my opinion, I think XRP and the XRP ledger, along with other layer one networks and other ledgers and digital assets, but XRP, I think, is certainly one of them, is fundamentally going to change the way that society works, fundamentally going to be a part of our everyday lives, fundamentally going to be a part of the banking industry, or at least it's got a really hell of a good shot at it compared to what else exists out there. So there's always going to be shit happening. There's always going to be drama. I've certainly made tons of mistakes throughout my time here, and I'm going to continue to make mistakes, I'm sure. But it is awesome to see price action doing what price action is doing for XRP. I'm hoping to see that for other assets. I'm hoping to see it continue for XRP. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And hopefully by the time this releases or tonight, XRP's broken all-time high and has printed above $3.40. And it'll be interesting to watch. So you guys have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. And I'll talk to you when I talk to you. Thanks. Bye.